recognise the efforts of people that have had a big impact on making things better for other people in terms of Rett syndrome. And one of those is Janelle Lillis, who lives in Coffee in New South Wales, which is a hamlet about 30 kilometres southwest of Sydney. And we haven't done this before, so we've had an award especially created that is meaningful, unique, and I think the recipients will approve this. That's Janelle's daughter, Rebecca. Anyway, correct me if I'm wrong. Probably in her early 20s now. She's one of the few Rett girls that I've met that has a trachea, which is a breathing tube. Pam, from the daughter. Yeah, you would be familiar with that? Yes. Which means that in the family's case, that the parents have to alternate sleeping time so that they can suction their daughter. So she had that rather pretty hard sort of thing to keep doing day in, day out, as well as getting involved in what she wanted to do, was raise money for research. So she formed the Rett Syndrome Association of New South Wales in 1995, and that just sort of rolled along for a little while. She was a central point for families in Sydney in particular, and she liaised with us. And what grew out of that was the Rett Syndrome Australian Research Fund, which came along in 1997, which its main thing was, or main two things were raising awareness and generating funds for research, which they did. And the fund went for around about 9 years, and they raised something like over $2 million. Some of that went west, a lot of it went to New South Wales, a research centre in Sydney, and it also monies were used to support a Rett syndrome clinic at the Children's Hospital at Westmead. It's not operating anymore. That's not because she didn't like doing it, but it just wore her out basically. But it was quite significant that what she did in a very small community in New South Wales, it was basically a relative. It grew from events like this, where she would have a stall at a market. That's a photo there of that craft markets within the communities. It sort of led to things like bush dances and so forth, and you can see her there, she's getting a check by the way. It meant that she suddenly found herself having to do things she never dreamt she would do, meeting people that she never thought she would meet. Excuse me. So that's sort of an example of the awareness that raising some of the attention going. It's using the local newspaper and so forth, and that grew, as did the fund, and to the point where there's more of the awareness raising that she did with Rebecca. Produced a brochure. The little angel there became their emblem. You can see the quote there from John Christopher, who was running the centre in New South Wales, just how much her support was appreciated. She would hire, we have got She got Susie Moroney, who's a marathon swimmer, on board. And she became quite passionate about it. So not only was she creating awareness through, Susie became a patron, and they would raise funds. And then you can see Darling Point in Sydney, they're down, Rebecca and Janella down there ready to greet Susie after she was swimming from Newcastle to Sydney, which is a fair drive, let alone a big swim. There's more examples. They really put all their eggs in one basket after a while, and then that'd be a ball, and it just grew and grew and grew to the point where other people, the state government got involved, some big names in New South Wales got involved, and it raised anything from $100,000 to $150,000 before it sort of finished, before the Rotary Club moved on to some other charity. She found herself on This Is Your Life when Susie Moroney was the centre of that program. Nervous as hell she was, but she did it anyway. That's the angel. So it branched out from being in New South Wales to raising funds throughout Australia, and to do that, there were two particular businesses that helped out. But that looks easy. That's easier said than done. What you have to do is you've got to jump through a lot of hoops to do that. She had to contact each state government authority, make sure she met all the legislative requirements of each state, and on an annual basis you have to supply the reports and so forth. So it was just another job on top of all the other stuff that she was doing. And that angel became a feature of a small advertisement that appeared on TV. She used to have Angel Week, which was conducted in where they would sell merchandise, angel type merchandise at those stores, and that would run for a week and raise funds. So it was over 2 million. As I said, the hospital got a clinic, the researchers got some finance, and she was a focus where people wanted to donate health research. We could actually, we as an association could point them in the right direction if they so desire. So that's Janelle. It's been fantastic. I'll show you what she's going to get shortly. But from where I stood, what she did was absolutely fantastic. No interest in herself. In fact, she knows that today's happening. She's not here, unfortunately. She would love to be. And she said, Bill, don't do that. It's taking up valuable time. So I said, Janelle, this has to be done, because if it's not, you're just going to fade into history, and it must not. And people who are involved with Rett syndrome in Australia, particularly families, shouldn't. They've got to be made aware of what it is. Otherwise, you're just going to go to God, so to speak. So the first time ever that we've done an award like this, and Janelle's one of the recipients, which is, I might even try and personally deliver the award, but I'll show you the award shortly. The second recipient doesn't know about this, but she's sitting right next to me. So, in recognition of what Kathy has done over a long period of time, we're going to give her the same award, which I will show you shortly. Actually, I've seen a little bit of Kathy's presentation, and this photo, the photo that you can see now with Andreas Rett, is actually in her presentation, so I won't go into that too much. And I think that's been good, so she'll also to him as well. These are the chaps over there at the start. Obviously, Andreas Rett and Ben Taboo was the connection between the two of them was meant to happen, I would think. Another player is Percy in America. The wrong one. Okay. That's the wrong one.
Sorry.
That's the next one. Sorry, Ken. That's young Stacey, by the way. Happy for it.
Sorry, it's not that one?
No. That's the one. Thanks, Mike. Yep. That's Kathy. And Stacey. In recent times, it's so there she is, as I saw, she had that photo in her presentation with Andreas Rett. They set up an office back in, that one is back in 1993. There's herself and her co-workers. And there she is with Ellen Percy at the Congress. And these just to give you a feel for the sorts of things she's got up to. IRSA, the International Rett Syndrome Association, which Kathy founded, and which was, she was chairman or president. Yep. That was 23, this is actually quoted from something she wrote. It's a 23 years of service until 2007, so from perhaps 23, you'll see when it started. Well, it was long after the article of Rett syndrome was first published. 23 annual conferences in 23 years, over $70 million US dollars lobbied for in National Institutes of Health funds, 3.5 million US dollars raised privately for research, the National Advocacy Award of Merit, 5 award-winning media productions, coverage in more than 500 media outlets, a nationally televised documentary, funding of the discovery of the gene which causes Rett syndrome, and the identification of thousands of girls and women who have finally been properly diagnosed and treated. And these are the sorts of products, that resources actually, that became available through Kathy as the driving force of the International Rett Syndrome Association. It includes videos such as a closer look, conversation with families, a therapeutic approach. Then there's a publication, the 2 prints of the Rett Syndrome Handbook. The one on the left was the first edition. The one in the middle is the one that's available now, and it came out in 2007. And when it did come out, actually, because of its size, it was too expensive for the association really to order them in from America. So Kathy was coming out here to Sydney to give us a big part of a Let's Talk Rett Syndrome symposium, so that's what we're doing. And her and Scott, her husband, brought 50 of those books with them. They're the size of a telephone book. So there they are, got extra suitcases coming through customs with at least 50 books, all of which went off like hotcakes. But it just shows you the sort of things that if they want to get something done, then they'll get it done. And that they're first and foremost who they try to be of assistance to is us. It's been quite a ride, and we're very grateful for what both of you have done. And also she's did this book, the Raindrops and Sunshine, which is a book of inspiration and hope for families. So yes, went to Congress, didn't have far to travel, although we didn't live too far away still, but it's a big step to go to the country's leading legislature. Julia Roberts was recruited to do the Let's Silent Angels, a Rett Syndrome story. That came out in 1999, which is from after the discovery. So you can see there, she's actually in Congress, plugging for more funds for Rett Syndrome research. She had a crew, she was in liaison with the scientists who were researching Rett Syndrome around the world. That photo was taken in 1994 in Oregon. And down there you can see she didn't restrict her travels to the States of America. She found herself over here in Australia and New Zealand. And there's a photo there of her actually visiting the New South Wales Centre for Rett Syndrome Research at Western Sydney, and that was in 2007, and I said before we had a there's the sort of things that she did in the way of family support. She even went to Brazil in 1992. You see her there in California, the other side of the country, in 1997. And at the bottom there you see her here, actually that's in Melbourne in 1999. It's a big ask to Australia, as I said last night, to come here, because it's not a fun trip really to sit in a plane for 14 hours, or let alone another 6 to get to the West Coast of America. So that travel was also meant going to World Congresses. There she is in Gothenburg in Sweden, the top photo. There she is to the right over in Wellington in 2008 in New Zealand. And in the corner there, that was Mia from the Gold Coast. That was taken in Sydney in 2007. Just recently, I think it was in December, Scott and Kathy celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary. Not a bad team. So, cannot thank you both enough for what you've done. This association actually came into existence because of her, really. She was a major player without knowing it. What I wrote to her and what she said was back in 1987, 88 about myself. And what she said back was the list of about 15, the names of 15 Australian bands. She was spread across the country, and that was it for me. I knew that there were others out there, and we went with them. And of course, things went from there, and here we are today. So, Kathy.
My bag of treats. This is what it was.
Same thing for Janelle. It's actually the jeweller was going to send me a photo. It's actually the logo of the association that's been translated into an item of jewellery. And it's unique, as I said. It's meaningful, and on the back of it, I should say, it has been engraved quite simply with the words "Thank you" and 2015. There wasn't much space to say much more. I think the jewellery says it all, and it is unique and it's meaningful for us, and I'm sure that Kathy would get a kick out of it. So it meant hiding it in the house for a few days before, so she didn't actually stumble on it because she's staying with us at the moment. So magnificent. All right, well earned. Even though she's no longer head honcho of the International Rett Syndrome Association, which became the International Rett Syndrome Foundation, she is still accessible and is still only too pleased to help the main player in Rett Syndrome, which is the parent. That's the journey. Well, for me, this is where it started. That was 1971. That's in Melbourne. That handsome bloke is me. And bundled in my arms is my daughter Joanne, 1 week out, first day home from hospital. That's when it started. And it's one that's still going, which I don't mind. This is and it's brought me here at this conference, and it's been a hell of a ride, and it's been a pleasure actually, and an honour to do what I do. So what I will do now is ask Kathy to present to you and talk about her journey with Rett syndrome, which it too has been quite a trip.
I'll just jump in quickly before you catch. I'll just put a quick slide together about the association and right, so look on your face. Basically, the association was started in 1989 by that group of people up there. It's been running for 26 years, it's 27th year this year. Two of the people there, Peter Wirchin and Bill Cuggan, are still on the committee after all this time so far. So Peter, come up here as well, please, and Bill, and the rest of the committee. So on behalf of the committee and all the members, we'd like to present these guys with a similar award. That looks very similar. Something that Bill designed.
I think this committee is going to be fully moved.
So on behalf of everyone, we'd like to say thank you, and I'm just going to read a couple of words.
We just wanted to share with you all, as we all have, Bill and Peter have been RSA for old members and new members, and we've just got an anecdote that I wanted to share with you all just to say thanks. So Bill and Peter were the first Rett syndrome parents who spoke to within a week of diagnosis. It was such a relief to speak to someone who got it. The early days after our diagnosis had become a bit of a blur. The feeling of grief overtook us. I remember very little, but I do remember the sense of calm that Bill gave me over the phone. The love he has for our children with Rett syndrome is obvious, and the support he gives, and all of RSAA, to all of us here, is invaluable. So thank you, Bill and Peter, and the RSAA.
Thank you very much, everybody. Present Kathy. We'll start with the